SiriusXM Video lets you watch your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SiriusXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artists you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
Visit www.SiriusXM.com/go to sign up online quickly and activate your radio. Imagine waking up to the biggest names in morning entertainment: Howard Stern, Today Show Radio, news from CNN, Fox News, Bloomberg, NPR, or sports talk on NFL, MLB, NASCAR Radio, and more. Visit www.SiriusXM.com/go to sign up online quickly or call 844-711-8800 now. Activate your radio and begin exploring more than 140 channels.
The Beatles Channel.
The Beatles Channel.
He's a real man.
I'm Paul and I play bass. I'm Ringo and I play the drums.
I'm George and I play guitar. I'm John and I too play guitar.
Channel 18.
And anytime on the SiriusXM app.
To hear the Beatles Channel, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800 or head to SiriusXM.com/go to sign up quickly.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see. There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at EquityZoneMortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 018-14868.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me and people who love the universe. And that's my story I'm thinking with it. All fair and love and war with a beautiful April 25th, 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard in the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit you with a good luck split you. If that makes sense to you, as well as dropping the free Cadillac cars all over the universe. You can follow Big C Sports Podcast on 29 podcast applications and streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. You know, we have the NFL draft. We have some good boys that are going to be making a lot of money. And they got to learn to protect their assets, if that makes sense to you. We got some NBA basketball. LeBron James inbounds the ball to Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis guarded by the Joker. Anthony Davis with the sky hook. In for 3. Get the hole. Yes. In your life. Wow. What a play. I think the Lakers come back tonight, and they probably get a win at the Crypto.com arena. All fair number 1. Well, that's my story that's sticking with it. And then you got the Good Boys, another game that people want to see on the West Coast, the New York Knicks and Philadelphia. Can they get that done? You know, everybody has their own favorite teams, but tonight it's about the NFL draft. There's a lot of Good Boys looking forward to becoming the next millionaire, if that makes sense to you. I want to say with the Big C Sports Podcast, I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. In fact, LeBron James for 3 in your life. Yes! Do you believe in miracles? They got to believe it's a miracle tonight in Los Angeles. Because if they don't believe in miracles tonight in Los Angeles, it may not work out too well for them. They got to find a way to win against the good old boys from Denver. If not, it might be a sweep. I don't think they go down 3-0. But if they do go down 3-0, it most likely would be a sweep for Denver. They've already won 10 in a row versus the Lakers. Well, we'll have to see what happens. Big-time players make big-time plays. And then I'll tell you, as I tell you, the commercials are done, the stats are provided, the storytelling. I even do the play-by-play. LeBron James inbounds to Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis got a bunch of ball. Anthony Davis for 3. Yes! In your life. Get the hole. That's what they got to say a lot tonight at the Crypto.com Arena. If you're the LA Laker fans, you got to say, get in the hole. Yes! Do you believe in miracles? Boy, it would take a miracle to come back from 3-0 and win this series. The Lakers got to win tonight, or they can look at the sweep. And I don't think they're going to get swept. I just think they have to realize when you got a guy that's hot, you keep going to him and stop pulling up for threes. The Lakers are not a three-point shooting team, but if they try to be, then that could cost them. Look at what happened to the Boston Celtics last night. They lost to the Miami Heat. Now, Miami's a three-point shooting team. That's their thing. That's not the thing for the Lakers. You got to get that ball down inside the paint, if that makes sense to you. And then, as I say with Big C Sports Podcast, this show is uploaded to 29 podcast applications out of New York City and streaming on 4 TV platforms. And that's my story, and I'm taking with it. Number 10, I never missed a show with Big C Sports Podcast back in the day, since the days of Salem Media, when I had a good old boy producer by the name of Steve, and he said, you don't need those other guys. You guys can do it by yourself. He was talking about me and Big C, if that makes sense to you. But I got to say, what I always love doing is paying homage to the Veterans Crisis Hotline, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and you don't want to waste your mind on things that are terrible. I want to say, you know, anybody going through issues, they really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. Anybody going through issues, 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give us some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on, and leaning on somebody's good, especially when you're trying to become a millionaire. And that's what's happening in the NFL draft tonight. There'll be some players that are taken, and they're going to get a big paycheck. At the same time, you still got to make your team. There are players who have been traded that were draft picks, first-round draft picks a few years ago. And just because you were a draft pick a few years ago, it doesn't mean they're going to stay with the team that picked you. But there's a lot of good players that are up for the draft tonight, and I'll talk about that. That's what I love about doing Big C Sports Podcast. But I have a story that I want to tell. And I believe in those high school cheerleaders when they go, we got spirit. Yes, we do. We got spirit. How about you? And then the other team would say, our spirits are so high. Our spirits are so high, may lightning strike. They all say that. They all want to say that they have the best spirit teams. And sometimes you don't know until the other team, they get to have their cheerleaders come out and do their thing with their cheerleaders. But I got my own cheerleader for the Big C team and the RDC team. I have a commercial. I do it live. Would you like to hear it? Yeah, Big C, we want to hear it. Well, that's my straight up ticket with it. As those good boys get ready for the NFL draft, I have a guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth with the RDC Consulting Incorporated, in conjunction with the law offices of Attorney Scott Thibodeau, and the conjunction of law office of George Jones. The Missing Link, long-term care solutions by the book, helping seniors get their benefits. You know, you got to help seniors when it comes to those seniors getting their benefits, because they all need their benefits, if that makes sense to you. We have Medicare and You, taking care of tomorrow. In California, it's called Medi-Cal, over 3 decades of experience. And your family and spouse can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs. Find out your options, especially you good old boys being drafted into the NFL tonight. You got to learn to protect your assets, if that makes sense to you. I promise to you, specialized to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits, protection of your assets without a spend down. All paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by our staff of entitlement specialists, ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary, benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescriptions, medical equipment costs, and more. You know anybody who's ever dealt with nursing facilities? How about anyone who's ever dealt with prescriptions? How about anyone who's ever dealt with medical equipment costs and more? You mean, everybody has their own thoughts about what you need. But as I want to say with the RDC team, protection of your assets, not just the quarterback looking for the offensive tackle to protect his black side. You got to have your assets protected, especially if you're a quarterback, including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family, avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program, which can be from 10 to 40%. They love when you don't have a trust or a will in place, because the probate court has one for you. It's not good for you, if that makes sense to you. You want to have one that you can put together with the RDC team. 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624, and a one-time processing fee versus monthly premiums for the rest of your life. In your life, asset protection. Insurance coverage required by law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyers specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care, avoid probate, life insurance, veterans benefits, aid and attendance pre-planning, and avoid the look-back period. Fixed assets, your bank account, your checking account, savings account, money market, certificates of deposit, life insurance with cash values, fixed index annuities, variable assets, real estate, qualified money, IRA, 401k, other investments, avoid capital gains. You buy a house for $100,000, and in 1 year it appreciates to $1 million. You have a $900,000 capital gains. You can avoid capital gains by having your property in a trust. Over 3 decades of experience. Attention business owners, find out your other options to protect what your insurance does not cover. Oh, but see, my insurance covers everything. Well, that's not true. Find out. 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624, and get help with the RDC team in Big C Sports. Give that some praise. I said give it praise. Well, Big C, at the same time, you say we should trust you. Well, do you have any what they call references? Well, I'm glad you asked. We do have some references. Would you like to hear them? I'm glad you asked about the references, because anyone wants to tell you they can do asset protection. Ask them who endorses their asset protection in their long-term care. We have the endorsements of attorney Scott Thibodeau. We have the endorsements of Mr. George Jones, Esquire, the chairman of the California Black Chamber of Commerce and the California Black Chamber of Commerce Foundation. We have the endorsement of Mr. Leon Woods, Resource Development Consulting. He has one of the top connections with lobbyists in California. Also, we have the endorsement of Miss Cheryl Brown. She's the chair of the California Commission on Aging. If that makes sense to you, we have Mr. Ray De La Cruz. He's the CEO of Resource Development Consulting. He has the endorsement of the late attorney George Carlson, who is they call him Robert Carlson, and he was the chief counsel for CalPERS, the late Robert Carlson. He also endorsed the RDC team and Ray De La Cruz. Mr. Alex De La Cruz, the founder of Americans Veteran Benefits. And we have Charles on the Big C team, the co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project, Northern California chapter. If that makes sense to you, I say give that some praise. Give it praise. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. We have a lot of great things going on with Big C Sports Podcast. I have so many people that I'm so proud of. It's not just me. I know we have the NBA draft tonight. We have some NBA basketball. There's a lot of people that are going to say, LeBron James over to Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis for a 3. Yes! Get in the hole in your life. Have you ever seen such a play? Well, I'm trying to tell you, LA is up for a game. I know the good old boys in Philadelphia, they're looking for the big payback. A lot of good old boys all over the country. And then Miami, they're saying, man, we took one from Boston. That seems familiar. They're thinking they can get another one from Boston. I don't know if they can or if they can't, but they don't have a fear. If you can play a game without fear of a team, then you have a chance to win that game. And that's amazing. That's what I love about doing Big C Sports, and also the RDC team for asset protection. Also want to say to a lot of good old boys, it's not just me. I love paying homage what homage is due. And I want to thank the Associated Press. Who is the Associated Press, Big C? I'm glad you asked. They're the largest news organization and the oldest news organization in the history of the United States. And then they did a story on Big C Sports. Oh, what'd they say, Big C? Who won the game? No, they said California Reparations. March 30, 2023. Charlton Curry of Sacramento, California, who discusses reparations on his Big C Sports podcast. It says that cash payments are necessary and that money talks. Why would the Associated Press talk to you about reparations, Big C? I'm glad you asked. Because they know a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And they know I'm the only sports show in the universe that pays homage to the California Reparations Task Force on every show. And I love doing it because it's so real. And I love paying homage to people who have their head in the game. They're not just trying to win a game. So I want to say, as I always do, backed by popular demand, if you haven't heard it before, you're probably going to hear, in your life, get in the game. Yes! Do you believe in miracles? I love adding that to it. But I do want to say, I want to praise the California Reparations Task Force because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I know we're waiting for the NFL draft, but every one of those beautiful, intelligent athletes, especially the beautiful, intelligent African-American athletes, if you trace your history, not one of you come from a legacy of owning slaves. You didn't get the Homestead Act, but every NFL owner, they can trace their ancestry back not only to the benefits and the profits made through slavery, but also through the Homestead Act, where their families still benefit to this day. And that's a fact. I want to thank attorney Camila Moore. She's the chair. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to thank Dr. Amos C. Brown, the vice chair. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. He's actually been on the Big C Sports podcast. I want to thank California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to thank Council Member Monica Montgomery Steppe. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to thank Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to thank Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to thank Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to thank Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, professor at California Berkeley. I love giving him praise. I want to thank Attorney Donald K. Tamaki, part of the California Reparations Task Force. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. Give him praise, praise, praise. Give him all praise. In fact, California, it passed the Freedmen's Affairs Agency, which is the bank to pay out reparations, and I love doing that. That's part of what I love about Big C Sports Podcast and reparations. I also want to say, it's not just me. Say, give it praise, praise, praise in your life. I love saying that. That means a lot to me. It's not just me, though. I want to thank Double O. She's part of the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. She has her own economics awareness talk show called Let's Eat. And everybody loves to eat. Great show. You can see it on Access Sacramento. You can also Google it. And she sent me Executive Order 13985 last year. It was on President Biden further advancing equity and support for communities of color. That's called black folks, if that makes sense to you. It called equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. That's called the White House. Not only that, she sent me this article from the United Nations. It says strong leadership and political will are crucial to repair and ensure reparatory justice for people of African descent. That's called reparations. More and more people are starting to say, you know, it makes more sense. If you Google the Freedmen's Bank, it was established by Congress in 1865 to create a bank for free black Americans to put their money. Because the white banks, they would not allow black Americans to put their money into those banks. They were stealing it. I want to thank Brother Aleem Shabazz. He's the co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project. He owns Crescent Sports Media. He actually filmed the last Reparations Task Force meeting at the Secretary of State building in California. I love giving him praise. I want to thank Reverend Tony Pierce, President and CEO of the National Black Wall Street Project. He actually has so much knowledge of how things have been done for over 70 years, been doing his thing. I want to give them all praise, praise, praise. May lightning strike if you don't give them praise. Before I get into the NFL draft and talk some about the NBA, I want to take the time as we're all standing up for the kickoff. Imagine if we could do the same thing for descendants of child slavery and do the right thing. Because when you follow Big C Sports, you can't say you don't know the right thing to do. That's important. Listen to the best speaker ever on reparations. And more than if you think about Dr. King, he never gave a speech on touchdown, home run, 3-point play. Oh, man, Willie, he's going all the way. Light the beam in your life. Get the hole. Yes. He never gave a speech on that. But he did serve a greater cause than that. Would you like to hear it? I have a white Republican conservative talk show host. He'll tell you his thoughts.
Martin Luther King, we had a conversation a couple days ago about handouts and how these right-wing memes, these Republican memes, have infiltrated the Democratic debate to suggest that, ending welfare as we know it, all those kind of things are somehow, great and noble things, when we're not dealing with the underlying problem, which is that there's no economic opportunity there because of insane trade policies and because of Reaganomics. And Martin Luther King spoke to this. Jim and Shane, this is clip number 4. Martin Luther King spoke to this sometime back in the early 60s. And I thought this was a really interesting quote. Here he is.
Here's the problem. At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
From his speech, The Two Nations of Black America. And it's absolutely brilliant. And the next time some white person talks about, well, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps and my family did too, especially the Bundy boys. I mean, here's Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., talking about how basically whites stole the West from the Indians with the complete, and didn't just steal it. I mean, murdered them. He murdered the Indians in the process, and did not give any of these benefits to African Americans for 100 years in this country. It's a strong case for reparations or some variation on it, for rebuilding our cities, for doing right after having done wrong for so many centuries. It is a very, very strong case for that.
In your life, get the hole, yes! I love talking reparations. I know you want to know who won the game.
Hello, everybody. I am Attorney Augustus Corbett, one half of the Defiant Lawyers. Each and every week, we bring you at least one legal analysis of some story trending regarding politics, policies, personalities, and pop culture to empower you with the information you need to defy an unjust legal system. When I say black, I'm talking about blacks in Africa, blacks in America, blacks in Europe, blacks in the Americas, blacks around the world. An undeniable case for black reparations. Now, of course, my focus will be African Americans here in our country. So that's going to be my focus. But my case will apply to wherever blacks are and have been harmed. Now, you may recall in the past several weeks, I've done several videos talking about the systemic oppression of black men. What some of you all did not realize is that was the foundation for the video that I'm doing today. Because that systemic oppression of black men forms the basis for my case, my argument for black reparations. So let's get it.
Now think about this. People say, well, what about the NFL? What about touchdown, home run, three-point play? Old man Willie, he's going all the way. LeBron James for three. Yes, in your life, get the hole. What about the NFL draft? That's a distraction. Big C Sports is different. I want you to listen to a few more minutes of this great, intelligent, brilliant lawyer and why people should want to do reparations, especially the countries that benefited from slavery.
To this, I'm going to go to another screen. I'm going to lay it out for you. It's going to be undeniable. I promise you that. The undeniable case for reparations. So, I'm going to give you the biblical, historical, economical, legal, and moral basis for reparations. All right, let's get started. Again, the systemic oppression of black men, hence black people, has produced large inequities and considerable damage to black Africa and the black African diaspora. These damages are the direct result of the transatlantic slave trade, trans-Saharan slave trade, colonialism, and their lingering aftermath. I'm going to continue to repeat that. Why is it important to demonstrate these damages? And let me say this. I approach this from an attorney's perspective. I am a licensed attorney and have been so going on 20 years. I litigate in both state and federal court. I know what it takes to win cases in both places, state and federal court. So I come at it from that perspective, right? But there are bases for reparations outside of the law. So that's why I want to talk about the biblical basis, the moral basis.
That's so important. I'm going to take it. We get so hooked on touchdown, home run, three-point play. Old man Willie, he's going all the way. Listen to this attorney on reparations.
So when I talk about damages and why it's important to demonstrate damages, I'm obviously making a legal argument here. I'm making a moral argument. I am making an historical argument. We got to show, we got to demonstrate damages. We got to demonstrate the harm of systemic racial oppression. And again, some of you missed that because when I talked about the systemic racial oppression of black men, some of you seems like you thought I was putting us down. Not at all. We're just looking at a reality, the reality and the basis.
When you think about what he's saying, and for the NFL draft taking place in Detroit right now, not one NFL owner comes from descendants of chattel slavery. Not one NFL owner has ancestry that was enslaved from 1619 to 1865. I know we got used to saying, touchdown, home run, three-point play. Old man Willie, he's going all the way. LeBron James for three. Yes, in your life. Get the hole. Listen to this brother talk, a smart attorney.
For reparations. All right, let's keep looking at this. So why it's important to demonstrate damages? Because proof of damages are needed to demand reparations on the basis of unjust enrichment. I will talk more on unjust enrichment later in this presentation. So let's start with what are reparations. Reparations are the economic restitution and compensation nations, states, corporations, universities, religious bodies, and other entities they owe us reparations, black Africans and the black African diaspora, for damages caused. See, I'm going to keep talking about damages. And that's why I wanted to document the damages first. For damages caused by, again, the slave trade, colonialism, and their aftermath. And by the way, because of the grievous, hideous, vicious way we were oppressed, punitive damages are warranted.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that in your life? LeBron James 4-3, Anthony Davis 4-3, Jamal Murray 4-3. Get the hole. We hear all the celebrated athletes and entertainers that are Black Americans, but not one Black American owns outright an NFL, NBA, or Major League Baseball team. But we show up and we cheer. Touchdown, Hogan! 3-point play. Oh, man, Willie, he's going all the way. Get the hole in your life. LeBron James 4-3, yes! And we've been so focused on the entertainment aspect and not the ownership aspect. And that's what I love about this beautiful attorney. Listen as he talks more.
And again, the hideous nature of the systemic oppression. And that's quite common in the court system. If you have harmed somebody and you did so in such a way that, again, was just heinous, then the law permits the victim to also get not only compensatory damages, but punitive damages, exemplary damages. They are certainly warranted in this case, this demand for reparations.
Now, I want to just say this. The late O.J. Simpson passed away last week. And ironically, they called it the crime of the century. It's as heartbreaking as it was for the victims. He was acquitted in a court of law by a jury. Whether you believe he did it or not, that was not the crime of the century. But white-controlled media, they said, oh, that's the crime of the century. 2 white people were unfortunately lost their lives, and a black man was accused of doing it. You know, like Emmett Till when he was beaten by a mob of white people. It was a white lady who lied that he touched her or whistled at her. She lied. And a young man lost his life. Wouldn't that be the crime of the century when a young man is beaten to death by a mob of white people? Why was that not called the crime of the century? Oh, Big C, you going back into the past. Well, the fact of the matter is, how could a homicide of 2 people in Los Angeles be considered the crime of the century because the man was acquitted when you have slavery from 1619 to 1865 with the masses of murders, the lynchings, the hangings, the beatings, the stabbing, the killing, the beheading, the raping, the selling of men, women, and children with impunity. No one ever paid a price. From 1619 to 1865. Yet 2 white people lost their lives in a tragic loss of life, and that's called the crime of the century. And you know what they're seeking? The late Nicole Brown Simpson family. The late Nicole Brown Simpson, her family seeking money and damages from the court. And a white jury, they gave him the damages. They couldn't collect it because his items are in a trust. But if that is the crime of the century, the loss of 2 white lives, what would it be if you had millions of black Americans that were murdered through the Middle Passage, lynched, burned, set fire to, raped, mutilated, castrated, sold off, men, women, and children, from 1619 to 1865. And not only that, you had 100 years of Jim Crow, which means you were still in slavery. What would that be called? What kind of crime would that be called? I'm asking the same white media that said 2 white people that had lost their lives, tragically so, considered the crime of the century. I would have thought that Emmett Till's beating by a white mob would have been the crime of the century. I would have thought that the Wall Street, the Tulsa massacre would be the crime of the century, where hundreds of black Americans were murdered by mobs of white people. And white people didn't call that the crime of the century. But 2 white lives, they called it the crime of the century. Listen to this attorney talk.
Finally, white supremacy is the evil, false, twisted, vicious ideology that enslavers and colonizers use to sustain and justify systemic oppression. So white supremacy, the fake and false and phony notion that whites are superior, therefore they should control, they should oppress others, that they have the sort of the God-given appointment to enslave non-white people. That's the basic ideology used to justify systemic racial oppression. Now, the motive of systemic racial oppression is greed. It's greed. Now, listen, in addition to being an attorney, I am a minister. So my moral compass is the Bible. And the Bible says something that's very, very instructive here. The Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. Didn't say money is the root of all evil, but the love of money is the root of all evil. And that is the reason why we have been victimized by Europeans and European descendants.
Now, you're listening to an attorney and a pastor, Attorney Augustus Corbett, Esquire, making his case for reparations. I know you want to know who won the game. I know you want to know who's going to be drafted first, Big C. What about the draft? In every one of these players being drafted, not one owner that owns an NFL team can trace their lineage back to being a descendant of chattel slavery. They can't trace their lineage back to receiving the Homestead Act, where the United States Congress gave over 300 million acres of land after slavery. But you have to be white or white European. Dr. Leakey and Gregory Mendel, they were looking for the origin of man. They searched Europe, but they didn't stay there long. Dr. Leakey considered the father of paleontology. He opined that all life came from Africa, from the womb of a black woman. Gregory Mendel considered the father of genealogy. He opined that dark skin is dominant, that light skin is recessive. He said that the dominant can reproduce the recessive gene, but the recessive gene cannot reproduce the dominant gene. That's Mendel. Race is a social construct. Before I get into the sports, and you can't wait to see what white owner is going to draft a black player, how'd they get that money in the first place? Oh, Big C, can't we just watch the game? How'd they become so wealthy? Because the reparations, the money and the labor was paid out. But it only got paid out to white people. They even got reparations after slavery was abolished. You can't argue that we don't get reparations. What did the Senator Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said? Oh, I don't believe we should have to pay reparations for something that we stole over 150 years ago. That happened a long time ago. But every time he has one of those mini strokes, he asks for 911. And hopefully maybe the next time the doctors will say, well, Mitch McConnell, why don't you pull yourself up by your own bootstraps?
Because of greed for money, greed for the resources that we African and the African diaspora have rightful claim to. All those resources on the continent of Africa, especially in the sub-Saharan part of Africa. But greed is the motive. White supremacy is the justification. In other words, we can do this. This is what whites want us to believe. We can do this because God made us superior and made blacks inferior. In fact,
and that's a lie. We all know it's a lie. I just want to say before I get into sports, listen.
So you can certainly do what you want to do to someone or something that is not human. Dr. King talked a lot about how African American people were deemed other or things under the law in America. He called it being thingified. And that's important because if you thingify humans, then again, you can do whatever you want to do with them and justify it with some twisted ideology like white supremacy. But the motive is greed. Let's be clear about that. Recently, I took a look at our analytics and I noticed something shocking. Many of you watch our videos and I believe you enjoy them, but you haven't subscribed yet. What are you waiting for? Again, I was shocked because I know our content is empowering and informative. Plus, our 2024 goal is to have 150,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Please help us by hitting that subscribe button, especially you young folks. We particularly want to increase our number of young subscribers. Thanks for all your continued support. We appreciate it.
In your life. That's what I say with the Big C Sports Podcast. I love that. I know what I do is different. I don't want to be like everybody else. And I want to make sure that whatever I can do is to make sure that I'm not just like everybody else. That's important to me. We have so much that we can do in this country. And I'm going to talk about some sports too. But I tell you, if we get this right and we make sure that as we're standing up for the kickoff and cheering touchdown, home run, 3-point play, old man Willie, he's going all the way. As we stand up for that, just imagine when we start getting people involved in the reality that we all deserve an opportunity for success, liberty and justice for all. We have to do that. There's a gentleman by the name of Jose Silva, and he had this book called Mind Control. And I read it many years ago. But the biggest mind control is to convince people that we don't need reparations. I got a text today. It says, today is a special day for me and President Biden. 1 year ago today, we launched our re-election campaign. And if you can, it would mean a lot to see a $5 donation come from you today. And all I text back is reparations now, reparations forever. Because if they pass reparations, they're going to get all the money they need. It will stimulate the economy. But for some reason, they won't talk about it.
On SiriusXM NFL Radio Channel 88 and on the all-new SiriusXM app.
The artists the rest of the world will be talking about in months are on SiriusXM's Next Wave concert series. Now, hear exclusive performances from the top rising stars in rock, R&B, hip-hop, and more. Tap into Who's Next, the Next Wave Concert Series Volume 7, now in the all-new SiriusXM app. Just search Next Wave.
In your life! See, I love talking about touchdown! Home run! 3-point play! Oh, man, Willie! He's going all the way.
A lifelong dream is about to come true for future stars of the league.
Throws towards the end zone. Caught. That is a Caleb Williams special.
Daniels launches deep down the field, has a man wide open. Neighbors at the 5. He's into the end zone. Touchdown!
Yes! In your life!
End zone. He's got it. Marvin Harrison hauling in for the score. Every pick and every round.
He will be a franchise player, and he's going to change the fortunes whoever gets him.
This is the 2024 NFL Draft on SiriusXM NFL Radio. Live from Detroit, Michigan, here's Pat Kerwin, Jim Miller, Rick Neuheisel, and Jason Horowitz.
Into which teams they go to as well.
Listen up to the draft.
I think we should have a little pool here. I'd say it's going to go Caleb. That's easy. Then it's
Is it okay if I don't get in the pool? I just decided against pools. I don't even swim in them anymore, Pat.
Well, you should have told me that before I started this conversation. No, then LSU second, Drake May will be third, and then we're going to see McCarthy come off at 6.
So that's your pool? You're putting your stamp down on 1, 2, 3, and 6 on the bingo card?
Yes. How about you? If you were smart, you'd copy mine.
Yeah. Pat's looking at Jim. He doesn't want my pool.
It leaves Minnesota pigeonholed. That's what Pat and I've been talking about.
They've been bottled up. They can't get up.
They can't get up there, no matter how they fall. And if it is true that, supposedly what's being reported is that the Giants want to trade up to 3 for May. And then if they move down to 6, we think 4 and 5, they stand pat, take the receivers, then the New England will still get J.J. McCarthy.
So both of you guys are hearing that it's May before McCarthy.
Yes.
I've got folks out there telling me it's McCarthy before May. And the Vikings are going to try to get down into the Arizona spot so that they can get May at 4 to reunite with McCown.
Yeah. But for Arizona to move down, that's a far drop because they've missed out on their receiver, right? If they drop down to 11 to Minnesota, what you just said.
Well, that then, Jim, gets into the conversation about where and when, if in fact it happens, do crazy trades happen throughout the course of the night? Do you get one at 3, and then do you get Arizona moving back at 4 to only accumulate draft capital to maybe move back up to 5 or 6 to get one of those receivers? And we will find that out as this night gets going. Mills, it has been a 3-month-long process, right? The college season ends. Michigan is the national champion. You get the Senior Bowl, you get the combine, you get the entire free agency and the build-up, and it has been, look, we're going to have 257 players drafted.
Right.
But the headlines have been about the amount of quarterbacks that might go here tonight.
Yeah, it's quarterbacks, and I think the Purdy experiment, or him being Mr. Relevant, I think teams are now reevaluating quarterbacks. What have we missed? Pat brings it up all the time. Supposedly that was about the S score, but I think it's more than that. Purdy could play. He had a ton of experience. Look at last year, Tyson Bagent, undrafted out of Shepherd.
He outplayed Justin Fields.
Yeah,
easy.
He won 2 out of 4 games off the bench, and they don't even have a veteran on the roster. They're trusting him to be the number 2. So if you're a team or an owner saying, how are these guys getting undrafted guys going and winning games on starts? Think about it.
You heard the stat I used all week about how many quarterbacks drafted in the first round since 2010? 42. 1 Super Bowl winner, Mahomes. Only 4 made it to the Super Bowl out of 42. 31 of those 42 coaches were fired soon after drafting those guys. There's only 16 starters left.
So you are not the only one who knows those numbers. The entire league then would know those numbers. So my question back to you then, Pat, is knowing
you
that
wouldn't believe how many guys don't know that number. They don't want it. I don't want to know it.
But the other job that these GMs have, whether they want to admit it or not, is to sell hope.
Well, that's what this weekend is. It's a hope weekend, but hope turns to disaster pretty quick. Here's the question. I think you'll admit that 3 of the 6 are total failures.
It's just reality. In your life! I just want you to hear the NFL draft happening, other people talking about what it's like and what they're going to do for the next players coming up. But that's their thoughts. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has their own thoughts about it. But I'm saying with the Big C Sports Podcast, I want to be different because I care about the legacy of what happens to this country, especially people of African descent. Because we benefited from all the marching and the legislation that ended slavery. It was black soldiers that helped end slavery by joining the Union Army. And now we have the chance to talk about things like touchdown, home run, 3-point play. Oh, man, Willie, he's going all the way in your life. Have you ever seen such a play? Well, the stage is set for the NFL's next generation of stars to follow along with the latest news by the NFL draft in Detroit, Michigan. Detroit Bad Boys, Motown. After months of anticipation and countless mock drafts, 32 players will find out which NFL teams they'll be playing for this season. The 2024 NFL Draft, it ushers in a new class of players poised to be game changers for their respective teams for years to come. In the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft is upon us this Thursday in Detroit, Michigan. It will be broadcast live by ABC, ESPN, and the NFL Network. The second and third rounds will take place Friday, with rounds 4 through 7 set for Saturday. Everybody has their own thoughts of who's going to be the top pick in the NFL Draft, and I'm thinking it's going to be Caleb Williams for the beautiful Chicago Cubs. You want to crowd him. The Bears are where you thought they were. Caleb Williams out of USC. I really like him. He's just a star player. He's a lot like the new Patrick Mahomes, if that makes sense to him. So Detroit, they're embracing the 2024 NFL Draft after witnessing the Lions pull off their best season in decades. It appears that Detroit is fully embracing its role as the NFL as the draft host. That's great for the city of Detroit. Thousands of people have gathered at campus Martins Park and Hart Plaza in Detroit, Michigan to experience the draft firsthand. And there's plenty of opportunity for people to be really excited about the draft. I say, when you think about may lightning strike in your life, I love saying that. Get in the hole, the great Vern Lindquist. But there's so much that I put into the NFL draft. And today, my show, I always champion reparations. I'm not just going to be championing some sports athlete and hoping that they can make millions and not even talk about how they got there, how this country got there. It's important. You can do it all. So even if the Chargers, they trade number 5 pick, Justin Herbert is sure to receive help from the draft. I think the Chargers, if they pass on picking a receiving star such as Louisiana State's Malik Neighbors, if he's available on the 5th pick of the NFL draft, he's a star player. Someone's going to grab him. Through his first 4 seasons, he's thrown for 17,223 yards, and that's the most to begin an NFL career. Justin Herbert's aerial antics have become quite familiar, and the circumstances around the Chargers, however, have turned rather foreign. I'm going to tell you, there's so many people that love hearing about the draft, and I too am going to bring you some thoughts on the NFL draft, Big C Thought Styles. It's not just about me and talking about what I love with Big C Sports Podcast. I too want to have people think, what's going to happen in the NFL draft? I'm excited about it. Everybody's talking about it. And for these young players that are going to become rich, I wish you nothing but the best.
Highly paid wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Aiden Hutchinson taking his stroll as well, as they are getting going and being introduced to this crowd that has finally gotten the playoff wins to be excited about.
Did you two Detroit guys ever think you'd live long enough to see this?
Out comes Barry Sanders, obviously Detroit favorite as well. And then
Tonga Johnson was there too.
Yeah. Megatron making his appearance.
No, all those guys were, well, except for St. Brown, all those guys much very highly drafted picks.
Yeah.
Now, St. Brown is now going to the microphone here.
This is crazy. I can't believe it. But before we get off the stage, I need to hear one thing. Jared Goff. Jared Goff. Jared Goff.
Jared Goff, the quarterback for the Detroit Lions out of Marin Catholic High School in San Francisco Bay Area, and then went to Cal Berkeley. What a great happening for these young men who are making the dreams come true.
Baby!
It's going to be the first draft for the NFL held in Motor City called Detroit.
Let's turn up tonight, baby! Let's get it!
Got the turn from Aiden Hutchinson, former number 2 overall pick himself. And they're waiting for someone to come back to the podium, and it is Hall of Famer Barry Sanders now at the mic.
What's up, football fans? Thank you for showing the world how we do it here in Detroit. Great job, guys.
Imagine if they started even saying about reparations. We support it.
The last guy to speak is the tallest. It's Calvin Johnson.
I just got one thing to
Megatron.
say. What up, though?
I say reparations now, reparations forever.
All right, Detroit.
Come on, Detroit. Motor City.
Okay. Detroit, we got fans from 32 teams right down here, and of course all the Detroit faithful in the back. Welcome to all of you, and most importantly, thank you to Detroit. You guys have been awesome.
What a great opportunity for the city of Detroit, Michigan, to host the NFL draft, their first ever.
Okay, the 2024 NFL draft is now underway.
In your life, get in the hole, yes!
The Chicago Bears are now on the clock.
The Bears are who we thought they are. You want to cut them, cut them.
The end of the season by way of the trade last year when they had the first overall pick, traded it to Carolina, which took Bryce Young. The Bears own the first pick this year. A lot of conversation early. Would they use it? Would they trade it? Well, they traded Justin Fields. And so tonight, the early expectations, Caleb Williams turned first, and then off we go from there. We will step aside. We will get you set as the draft is now officially underway with the Bears 10 minutes starting here in Detroit.
In your life, get the hole!
Recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message or data rates may apply.
All guys lose their edge when they turn 40. Your body has less testosterone. That's why I take Nugenix Total T. I've heard about Nugenix. That really works. Since I started taking Nugenix, I'm lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. I feel more energized at work. It's even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try?
Yep, send a text. It's that easy.
Text STREAK to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. It's the #1 selling testosterone-boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now, and they'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, their newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text STREAK to 42424. That's STREAK to 42424. Statements have not been evaluated by the FDA.
Across the stage and make this thing official here in Detroit.
With the first pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Caleb Williams, quarterback, Southern California.
In your life!
Two Heisman Trophy winners, a sophomore at USC, becomes the 6th USC player in the Common Draft era to go #1, and the first since Carson Palmer went to the Bengals back in 2003. The unanimous All-American who set all kinds of USC single-season passing records over the last couple of years. Pat, he is a guy, a name that has been penciled in here for over 2 months since Justin Fields was traded to Pittsburgh. Your thoughts on him as the #1 pick in the next member of the Chicago Bears?
Man, I tell you, that guy, to me, he's a player that's going to do great things for the Chicago Bears. And Caleb Williams obviously has all the makings of the next Patrick Mahomes. That's just my opinion. People can say, well, that's too much to say, Big C. But when you think about Caleb Williams out of USC, he just turned that program around, brought a lot of interest to the West Coast, came from Oklahoma. And I think, obviously, he had to opt for the NFL draft, and he made the right choice, becoming the first-round pick, the #1 pick overall in the 2024 NFL draft. I think he's going to have a great season for the Chicago Bears, but I would love to see them let him sit the bench for like 5 games. I know they got rid of Justin Fields. They traded him. He was their first-round pick a few years ago out of Ohio State. But Caleb Williams, in my opinion, is a better player, but you still got to fix that offensive line for the Bears. But I wanted to bring it to you on Big C Sports Podcast. My show is different. I want to be different, and I hope that these young players will, in their lifetime as an athlete, at least stand behind the people who are making it possible for people who are not professional athletes to get opportunities for liberty and justice for all. And that's why I always champion reparations now, reparations forever. Get the hole, yes! That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Got some NBA basketball, especially on the West Coast. The LA Lakers, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Anthony Davis for 3. Yes! They got to find a way to get the hole. I think that the Lakers are 1.5-point favorite, depending on what sportsbook you look for. But it's going to be a tough go for the Lakers if they go down 3 games to none. It's not going to be over. They do have a chance tonight to climb back in this series and just fall down to 3 games to 1, or 2 games to 1. But they were, hope that's not a Freudian slip, but they were up 30 points in 2 games in Denver combined when you look at the games 1 and games 2. So they have the formula to get it done, and that's my story. I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink, because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber, you can call Lyft, you can walk it off, you can sleep it off, but don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car and start driving if they've been drinking. That's my story. I'm taking with it. I love paying homage to my beautiful family on my mother's side, my great-grandparents, my grandparents, my beautiful mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. I can always depend on my mama, always saying, rise and shine, the best person I ever met in my life. I love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful father and my grandparents, Albert Curry and Alberta Curry. I was 8 years old. My grandmother in Oakland said, there's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak. Really do appreciate her. Now I'm on 29 podcast platforms with my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always saying, develop your mind to its highest extent. I love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful brother Ty, with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning. A voracious reader, love Tom with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors in 3.5 years from a major university. Daisy, you can be anything you want. Always trust God. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful brother, my beautiful son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College student, very smart, erudite, a good man. Always trust God. You can be anything you want to be. I love it with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Then Big C with all that wealth of knowledge over the years. Just like coming around that mountain. Said you gotta believe, you gotta believe, you gotta believe. Let's get ready to rumble in your life. Get in the hole, yes! I love doing Big C Sports Podcast. As I always tell you, I always pay homage to the great Muhammad Ali. Back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, he said, you float like a butterfly, and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. Every time I listen to Big C Sports, I want to champion reparations now, reparations forever. And then I feel like a butterfly, and I sting like a bee. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As my beautiful mother always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever go through that crap on their own. You need more leader in your life. Leader is an acronym for love is the answer. If anybody's going, I only hit you because you made me mad. I only slapped you because you made me mad. I only choked you because you made me mad. You get the phone call 911. No one should ever have to go through that crap. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And as I always tell you on every Big C Sports podcast, I know we want to stand up for the team, Mark. Touchdown, home run, 3-point play. Oh, man, Willie, he's going all the way in your life. Yes, get in the hole. I love saying that, but I do want to champion reparations. And I mean it with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Let's honor President Abraham Lincoln and Dr. Martin Luther King when they said reparations now, reparations forever. Say it like you just got drafted by the NFL. I want to say reparations now, reparations forever. Say it one more time like you're the number one pick. Say reparations now, reparations forever. I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day.